We need one more up here, up front.
a piece to put, you know, some of these pilings with signs and such in there, have them surveyed, have them inspected. So once we have our application ready to submit, which we'll hire a consultant to do for us, and once it's deemed complete, so it'll take several months to get an application together, and then it's another 3 months before the state would act on it. So we're looking at, you know, probably a 6-month issue. And I'm going through all these things because we have another wake zone coming up behind this one that's asking for similar things. So I want the board to listen to these things, and you can make a recommendation today, but I want you to make a recommendation based on the application that we have to submit on behalf of the city, not an emotional recommendation.
Just one minor point, Ed, when you talk about $10,000 to put up a piling and a sign, is it permissible and legal? I mean, I'd be happy to volunteer to put up a sign on the end of my dock. Save some money, put the thing right there, I'm all right.
Ed, you'd be fine until that first hurricane blew through.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, they have to be put in by, you know, to depth. You know,
Yeah, right.
They're installed
Okay.
with a barge, you know, and if it's a floating type thing, it's got to be anchored in. So
Yes,
we
yes.
have a hard time just with the city. We maintain so many of these now. We have over 500 of these aids to navigation all around. So this would add 6 more. I don't know how many would be in here. So we'd have to put that on our list. We're required to inspect them, replace them, update them when they fade out, and all of those things. So it's an impact to the general fund budget, and so that's another consideration that council will take in. It's an impact to the department that's responsible for maintaining them, for the department that's responsible for creating the ordinance. Law enforcement, now this is another area that they have to enforce. So there's all these other things that are under consideration. So that's what I want everybody to not forget those. Remember what we're trying to achieve, make the waterways safe, and then how does that happen? What else is involved in that?
So I'm very familiar with the state statute here, and I have it, and I think I addressed a number of those criteria in the comments here on that last page of my packet here on this narrative. And you know, my position is, and it's a position of the approximately 450 members of the yacht club, is we have an obligation to provide a safety boating area for our youth sailors. And at least I want to feel some comfort that once one of those kids get run over or something happens to them, I want to say, at least I told you so, or I asked. And I made an effort, and our yacht club has made an effort to provide a safer environment for our youth boaters and our members of our Clearwater Yacht Club. And I was there July 4th when we had an excessive wake, and I was on my boat. My boat's a 64-foot boat, and it tossed me around. I mean, and I thought we were going to get severe damage to our boat, but fortunately we didn't, but other boats did. And that's the same day that that wake destroyed or damaged, I think it was 10 pilings at the Chart House Marina. And, you know, they didn't report it other than to their insurance company. But we had a yacht club boat that was damaged. But it's marina, it's 2 marinas, and everywhere else in this county, you go by a marina, and there's usually no wake zones or slow speed or minimum wake zones. So I don't know why this should be exempt, and I don't think it should be. And I'd be glad to work with the city and, you know, whoever, as they draft the proposed ordinance, I'd be glad to work with them and provide them additional information if necessary, whatever it takes. But I think this area more than meets the requirements for idle speed minimum wake zone. And, you know, it only takes one bad experience, and I just hate to see one of these kids get run over by one of these boats.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Again, historically, the other was done in the 80s or 90s, whenever it was. Is there any way to look up the records on that and see if they addressed that area as well and didn't do that one for a specific reason?
I look back in our files, I could not find anything, but I remember from the harbor master previously that there had been an attempt to make this the same wake zone at some time, and it did not pass. I don't remember what he told me why, and I couldn't find any documentation.
Well, maybe.
But this is the first step.
Right, maybe they didn't supply the necessary criteria, you know, I mean, if you don't meet the points, or the majority of the criteria in this state statute, then I can understand why it would be turned down.
That's my point. It's the state that has to go through their checklist. We could want it all day long. We have got to put together a robust application that supports what they're telling us we need to qualify for this. So maybe it didn't qualify some years ago. So it is a burden on the applicant to provide the state with the criteria that they're looking at and reviewing. And we look at things differently. You know, we look at them from a, you know, it should be one, but that's not on their checklist. So we have to provide them with what they're asking us for.
Is there any history on citations or?
We can pull that. There's no known, since I've been around in the last 4 or 5 years, I don't have any known violations in that area of speeding or accidents that I can recall. But we can pull that, and we certainly will have to, because the state requires citations, accidents, all those things have to be part of the application.
Well, the problem is that, you know, somebody speeding through there, especially if they're not based in that area.
Right.
You're not gonna know who they are. Now, you know, I have a tour boat with a phone number on the side, and every time somebody's boat rocks or whatever, it was my fault, because I'm the one that they can call. It's a bit of a wake out, but it's down in South County. The point is, you know, you can't cite somebody unless there's a Clearwater police or a
Right.
sheriff's boat there watching it happen and cite it, you know, it goes flying by, they know, well, who's that, you know?
And that's what we experience at the yacht club, is somebody creates a huge wake, but by the time we get out to look and see who it is or where it is, they're long gone.
Right.
And like you said, you can't post a cop there, or a marine enforcement officer right there 24/7, so.
Well, Jim, let me just share this with the board. This was buried deep in the thing. This is one of the criteria. It says, no ordinance establishing a boating restricted area shall be approved for the purpose of noise abatement or for the protection of shoreline and shore-based structures or upland property from vessel wake or shoreline wash as provided in statute, whatever. Vessel wake and shoreline wash resulting from the reasonable and prudent operation of a vessel shall be absent negligence, not to constitute damage or property endangerment. The wake resulting from the reasonable and prudent operation of a vessel is a force which should be anticipated by the owners and property adjacent to the navigable waters of the state. So what they're saying is, you know, if the state's not going to protect your dock or your boat from being bounced around. Now, that's with reasonable operation. Well, there's always going to be a speeder in there. That's just like on a roadway, you know, speed limit's 35, you always have somebody going 45. You can't control that. So this is no different from there. So I just want everybody to know that reasonable operation of a boat to protect upland infrastructure or things is not a reason for an ordinance. It's the safety, it's the other components, you know, intersection of channels and, you know, blind spots and currents, you know, shallow water depth. These are all reasons, you know, you might go from deep to shallow. You might have seagrass beds. So those are the kind of things that they're looking for. But to say that it wants to protect your boat or your dock, that's really just going to, you know, you can include that, but it's not going to be one that's going to be.
And I get that, I understand that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That also is a launching area, and in this criteria, they make reference to launching areas. We have a launching area, and they make reference to marinas. There's 2 marinas right there.
That's what I'm saying. That's what the focus needs to be on.
Yeah, right, and,
I'd like to say, if you go to the charter house and your own yacht club and really start documenting and compiling these damages that you're experiencing, so that when you know, it's fine that we believe you said about 10 pilings or this.
I got the report on all that.
How many pilings, what it cost, what the insurance companies had to pay. I don't know if it's a possibility if insurance companies would be behind this, but then again, you could have 100 different insurance companies insuring that area. So it's not like,
Oh,
you know, Aetna insures all these marinas right in there, and they would be all behind this. And
Then you look at all these other areas, in this graphic area, all the elements are protectors, no marinas, none of these criteria exist in all these places. How did they get no wake zone, none wake zone,
All the way up Mandalay.
you know?
And just in response to that, Jim, a lot of those were done before they had really the restrictive review that is done now, from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to today. It's hard to get a permit. You know, I've talked to FWC. Clearwater has more specialty zones and permit zones than any other city in the county, any other municipality. In fact, we have so many that they want us to consolidate our permit because they're too hard to track because they've been issued over the years. And you know, like I said, we have over 540 aids to navigation that we maintain. So this would be more, another permit that, you know, we really, you know, need a master permit for Clearwater, in my opinion. Mike can attest to that because we've been audited and they're going through our permits to make sure. A lot of these things were done before GPS, and now that they go in GPS, they use the coordinates, and we put them on a map. Some of our aids are on the land because of their coordinates. They're not even in the water. So we have to go back out, physically get a GPS coordinate of that spot and readjust and move them because they didn't match. You know, GIS wasn't around in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and as the state brought all of these things into, you know, that view, it took a big review. And we've been dealing with that for several years now, finding some of our slow speed minimum wake zones were on the on Gulf Boulevard because the coordinates were wrong.
Also remember, each permanent zone has its own separate ordinance, so keeping track of that and making sure everything's marked.
Well,
So, oh, sorry.
you're also responsible for your own wake. I mean,
Right.
the other side of what you were saying,
Yeah.
well, you know, you should expect that until your boat gets damaged, and then I get a phone call because a dolphin racer went by, and another big sea ray went by, and they're the one dragging the wake, but I got the call because the boat is responsible for the damage that it does by its wake.
So I guess,
And
But-
again, you know, just as we're talking about this, and what we tell a lot of these people in island estates particularly, most of these people are their neighbors, and they know who it is. They'll tell us, it's this guy that's doing this, so, you know, so there are avenues to deal with that. You know, the police, with a report, you know, the state recognizes that when you have somebody that's abusing the rule, even when it's not enforced or it is enforced, they're not there. You know, people take videos all the time, send them to me about jet skis, and, you know, I can tell which jet ski operator it is that's, you know, going through these channels and such. And you know, the police can go visit that business, they can go knock on those neighbors' doors, which, Marine Patrol, which happens. You know, that's, I'm just saying there are other avenues, to address this. When you have a zone, we have them all here, Mandalay Channel is a good example. Nobody follows any of the signs in there. They speed through there all the time. So what do? I get so many complaints about the docks along Mandalay Channel and all the boats that live there. That's the number one, and there's 3 or 4 different zones in there, so you have to have Marine Patrol there. It's like I always say, it's like a stop sign or a red light. People run red lights, people run stop signs, people speed. It doesn't matter how many zones you have, you will still always have issues within the zone. So I'm just, you know, that's why I want us really to look at this, and I'm not saying I don't agree with putting a zone there, but we have zones everywhere in Clearwater, and we get complaints on all of these zones. I don't have any complaints on this zone. I got more complaints around Island Estates and Mandalay Channel than anywhere in the city, and that's heavily regulated. So that's the only point I'm trying to make. Making something restrictive does not make it safer.
Okay,
Yeah.
so are you suggesting that you're the point of contact for complaints? I mean,
No, the Marine Patrol is,
Marine
because
Patrol,
I don't
okay.
have any,
Okay.
I
I'm just
get
trying to
them all, I get them all.
I'm just trying to tell our people who to call from now on, and we do call the police department sometimes.
happy to
There's
send
a
complaints
Marine
your way.
Patrol unit, and they will set up a boat, they will sit there, we ask them all the time to sit by the Marina or by the Mandalay Channel where people come under the short bridge or down by the downtown Marina. They, if directed, they know the hot spots. So I'm gonna talk to the Marine Patrol, Mike and I will both talk to them, and we can get somebody to sit out there, but we really need to establish a pattern, you know, for them, if there is a big problem there. I don't wanna apply for something blind and be turned down because we don't have the backup information, so that's what I'm trying to stress, Jim. I'm not trying to throw cold water on it, I'm trying to build, you know, the best case that we can.
So how would you suggest we proceed from here then, other than document the complaints or record the record the negative activity that we're experiencing.
Well, we can let the Marine Patrol know that we're experiencing issues there. The board here can make a recommendation for the council to consider this as a zone, and we're gonna be discussing another one. So timing is good. There's two. It's better to, if we're gonna do something, to do them both at the same time rather than separately. So, I think your presentation is good. I think the board, maybe will have some more discussion, and they may choose to recommend further evaluation on this, but this board is the first step. And
Right.
then from there, if council decides to move forward on it, they'll give us direction. They'll give me direction, they'll give legal direction to start working on an ordinance. And then for us to get we have a consultant that can do this type of work for us. We've got to do the basic type of work, what the layout of this zone is going to look like, where it's going to start, where it's going to end, how the sign spacing, there's all this criteria, where we're going to put these signs, how many they're going to be, what type they're going to be. So that's the kind of stuff that we'll have to get together for our package. We'll have to have coordinates, surveyed, a draft ordinance has to be submitted with the application. So it'll take a while to get it together, but this is the first step, and it's a good first step.
Does it make sense, since you said that you've got all these ordinances, all these zones, that in this process, maybe you go and apply to say, let's rezone the whole thing and come up with an ordinance?
That would severely slow this down, but that's something that the state is looking at for us to, because we have these permits that are expiring all at different times. We have multiple permits, so we really need to have one citywide umbrella type permit.
Well, I'm just saying, it would seem like that would be a valid reason to address. We're going to address all these things, and by the way, we're also going to do this at the same time. I know it may slow it down, I don't know to what degree, but it would give, a higher level of importance that you're going to take and consolidate all those things. You're going to create efficiencies by having one, as opposed to having all these different ones that are expiring. You've got to go through this process over and over and over and over. Now you're going to minimize that in the future. You're just going to have one to go through with them all stated. So it would seem to make the most sense, and it may give you,
I think Mike wants to speak
Yeah.
to this.
What I would caution the board against doing is if you get into something like that and you open that can of worms, the state might come in and say, why do we have all these permits here? And they might start reducing those down. So there's a double-edged sword to that I would consider as the board.
So I
We have a water ski zone in Mandalay Channel. There's only 2 in the county. They don't allow those anymore. So we have people that love it, we have people that hate it. So I get complaints all the time that why are they water skiing there? Because the water ski, you have to be on plane and pulling pretty fast, but they're for vessels 26 feet and under. And the state has told us, well, if you get rid of it, you can't put it anywhere else, it'll never come back. So that's one of those zones that are not allowed anymore. And Clearwater has one.
you're talking north of this.
Yeah, that's that zone, that last.
And we used to water ski in between there, which is now a no-wake zone.
Right.
Well, people water
We
ski
do.
again where they want to, but this is actually a permitted water ski zone,
Oh.
which the state does not do anymore.
In the blue.
It's the hat. the
I remember
hatch
that
area.
was very controversial when
Oh,
that
I
was
see, okay.
proposed.
Yeah,
When,
so,
when you come around the north tip of Island Estates, and when I went from a 20-foot boat to a 30-foot boat, I had to learn got to shut down now and putt this whole distance, because when I was just a 20-foot boat, I was free to run through there, keeping a moderate speed, and there's boats there. Wouldn't be sitting here and boating on this channel for 30 years to say I'm the one out there causing all the havoc. But it's a water ski zone. It's not that highly used. Weekends and stuff, you'll see some people out there tubing, water skiing, a couple boats. It's not like there's 40 boats out there all water skiing around in circles and wakes and everything. It's, and a protected area where they can do that, there really isn't any other.
right.
It's not like you could move it anywhere, because once you go past that tip, you get the big wakes from the channels. You can't ski in that.
I just wanted to kind of make a comment for the meantime, because I would hate for a child to get run over or something crazy to happen. And I don't know if this technology is available for something on the water, but similar to how we coming across this causeway, they have those police signifiers that tell you you're going too fast in that area. Is that something that we could probably put out temporarily or in the meantime to show that we are being proactive about these things?
Might be more expensive than a regular sign.
Yeah,
Well, you can't put things
Right
in the
now, there
water
is no
that are
speed limit.
unpermitted. I mean, if there were if a boat
Yeah.
sank and was below the surface and you couldn't see it, you could put a hazard buoy at that location. But just to drop something that's not charted, that somebody wouldn't know was there, you cannot do that.
so did I understand you correctly that these wake zones have a sunset? I mean, they have to be renewed periodically, or?
The permits, Mike, I don't exactly know how it's not that they sunset, but
They don't sunset.
they're different, you know, they're older, so it's hard to reference some of them because you don't know the old permit numbers and they were done on different systems and different networks, so the city gets, we have to ask them to be taken away, but when new ones come in, new permits come in, they review what you have already. So my point was saying, when Clearwater wants a new zone, the state has to pull all the other permits they have, and they've told us that it's real cumbersome because we have so many, and they're not all together, or, you know, we piecemealed everything. We got a permit for this one, we got a permit for that one. It wasn't done it used to be in the day, you wanted a wake zone, you called the right person and you got one. Now it's more through ordinance and different review, and that's why we have so many around the islands and around the, you know, the Carlowell and that area up in there. And then we have these Manatee zones that have come in after the fact. So it's not impossible to do. I'm just saying that when we submit an application, they look at the area and the other zones around it.
And that's another thing, I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but there's manatees and dolphins in this area, and that's why the tourist boats come in there to observe the manatee activity and the
Say one of the
dolphins.
things in the checklist was marinas.
Pardon?
One of the things in the state
Yeah.
checklist was deck marinas.
Marinas, launching areas,
Well, it would seem that it's a slam dunk because you say it has to be a majority of these things. Well, either you protect a marina or you don't. It's not a matter of, well, you're going to protect a marina, but you also have to exercise prove that it's also going to be safer over here and is this and that. And no, it's a marina. It's one of the reasons why you have a no wake zone. Done.
That's one of the considerations, but that's why I'm asking you to read these things. And again, we're not gonna solve that today. I'm just saying there's a host of checklists, and public safety is number one on that thing. And one of those things that draws the public there is our marinas and such. So that's what constitutes, you know, boating habits. You know, when you're launching in an area, you've got kayakers in an area. So those are all things. But you start the application with public safety meeting those criteria. You know. And then the marina falls through. My point I was making, protecting uplands. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, it's a good application could probably produce a permit for this site.
so what
Okay,
do we need to going forward?
Well, I
Steps?
think what I heard from Ed a little bit ago was that the first thing is that this board, if we agree, and I think we all agree, should recommend to you that we should proceed, and that you then in turn take it to city council, and that determines whether it goes forward, right? So I think we ought to do
If you make a
that.
recommendation for
Okay.
council to consider this, I will advance it to that level.
I'd be happy to make that recommendation,
I
and
second.
colleagues agree. Okay, I'll shut up.
And do you want to make the motion then?
I'll make the motion to recommend that to council.
All right,
I'd second that.
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Jim.
well, thank you very much for your time and consideration, and I would be happy, more than happy, to work with the city in advancing this, and at the same time, I will try to identify other criteria that would meet the standard for this proposal.
Well, and Jim, we will have to work with you because the city will be the applicant, not the yacht club.
Right.
So we will need your support to help us with putting that application together.
When I said I would help, I meant provide additional criteria.
Provide additional information, yes.
Now, we will start complaining to the city marina, or the police department, or game patrol,
I
whoever.
just wanted to clear up something real quick. You can't put any kind of aids to navigation out there that's not, federally recognized. And so some sort of speeding waggles. There's a lot of flashing lights. There's flashing lights at the end of docks, and they're set at certain seconds, depending on where they're at, with the jetties too. So you couldn't do anything with flashing lights. And these permits, they don't sunset, but the state will do permit reviews, and as a city, you have to be a good steward of the permits. You gotta make sure that your aids to navigation are set up and everything else, or they could come in and pull it. So that's just something else to consider.
I mean, if it's signs, you have to be able to see them at night. They have to have reflective capacity to them. So as the sun wears that out, they get inspected, so we have to replace them. They're dull, they're faded, the pilings rot out. So it's a constant maintenance for these aids to navigation. And then if somebody hits one, that happens, frequently too. And a
Yeah.
storm takes them out.
All right, thank you all again.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Jim.
Jim.
Good job, Jim.
Very good. Well, we have a similar discussion and a request for slow-speed minimum wake zone for Stevenson Creek.
Thank you, everybody. Did you get a copy of what I sent?
By the microphone.
Did you get a copy of what I
No,
sent?
they have not gotten it yet.
Okay, I have them. And if I could get the overhead, it'd be cool. Thank you. I give you what you have. Can
I have.
Could I borrow your blue map?
Yes,
That
absolutely.
would help so much.
Absolutely.
Can't tell the locations without a map.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Oh.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Spare? You have a copy?
Oh.
I can't vote for you or against you, but I'd like to see what's going on.
As long as I have one left, I'm okay. If I could get the overhead, then, okay.
I put a star on there, Mike. You're up in the top right corner. That legend is covering where
It covers where I am.
covers where you are. Yes.
We're talking about this area at Stevenson's Creek. Comes out right up through here. See the back of the blue there. And then also this area. Oh, I'm Mike Flannery. I live at 1836 Venetian Point Drive. That's a little point that's just south of Stevenson's Creek. And I've lived there with my wife for over 45 years. So we've seen a lot of changes over the years. And we are only asking this, our reason for this request is it's slow speed zone for manatee protection. It should have been included in title. Because it's the boats and everything, they do have the intercoastal to go through right there. They can go as fast as they want. We're not complaining about that at all. But our concern is that they come right in against these docks that are on there. And you can see from the, I'm suggesting the area in red here and probably up to the city line. I'd go that far to Dunedin should be signed in such a way. There are no signs now that say slow for anything. And those boats, for some reason over the years, there have been more and more boats that go up in Stevenson's Creek. Maybe there's fishing contests, maybe there's something. They say, oh, good, thank you.
That's a better.
Yes, thank you
Better
much.
map.
Appreciate
Oh,
that.
there you go.
Okay. So can you see that okay? I live right there.
Oh, okay.
So I'm the point. And you can see from the green and stuff that this area is, over the years, when we first moved there was not, really didn't even know there were manatees there. They weren't there. But over the years, I think what's happened is they had the Mary Grizzle Act of '76 that cleaned up the sewer treatment plants. They've done a lot of other work with stormwater runoff. They've built new bridges and dredged Stevenson's Creek. So the actual area has changed a lot. And it now seems to be very attractive to manatees. We have, I've included some photographs here. I'll just show you what is here now. And these are all current pictures. This is, there we go. I got it now. Here's two manatees going under Stevenson's Creek Bridge, April this year, okay? There's lots more I could give you, I wouldn't bore you with them. Next picture, though, is very interesting. This area from the water is very, out to the intercoastal, is very shallow. You think, when you're there, it's wet, and you think it's that deep. No, it's only, I can wade across there after very low tide if I didn't get stuck in the mud. But the seagrass, you can see it in the front of this picture here. It grows right up there. There's here's this outer bar is probably between the two is where they dredged up to make Venetian Point. But then after that is the intercoastal waterway. That's good, but the manatees, just perfect for them to eat, to graze in here. But the boaters just like to cut right by the dock at 40 miles an hour, because it saves them 2 seconds to get to where they want to go in Stevenson's Creek or someplace in there. So we've been very concerned about what can, we've seen more and more manatees. And the question is, I would ask if I was there, well, are they there all year long or just in a, one month a year for breeding and grazing? And I finally realized what was happening. I kept seeing this, I thought somebody was throwing trash over the side all the time because when they mowed their lawns, and it turns out what they do is, this is the manatees grazing. They pull up the grass and it floats all over the place, which is a really good thing. So you can see some pictures of it here from yesterday, day before. So they're there all year long. So I have proof, and I have, by the way, I'm an avid photographer, so if you want any more documentation, I got it up the kazoo. But we were concerned. We bought a 4x6 or 6x8 manatee sign. I know if we put it on our dock, we couldn't put it out there in the water. We might as well say something. But I don't think anybody really sees it. They're going so fast. The speeders don't see it. The slow ones see it and they say, let's look at the manatees. But the speeders just go right on by. They could care less. In fact, sometimes they sort of looks like they're giving you signals that they don't want the sign there. But anyway, that's on the end of our dock. It has not helped at all, as far as we could really tell. And just final comment, that these manatees are not, they're very nice, but they're not very smart. Dolphins will get out of the way. But the manatees, they'll just sit there. This was right from the edge of my son's little kayak boat. They're in the, and we're also talking about it. There's a basin you can see on this aerial. You can see the basin behind, right in there. That's the Venetian Point Basin, and it's a great place for manatees. I know it's not legal, but somebody I know holds a hose over the end of their dock, and the manatees come up and drink the water. Yeah. So it's against code, I know, but that's what happens. So I'm not telling on it.
Is that a no-wake zone in the basin?
Pardon?
Is there a no-wake zone inside the basin?
There's no wake zones anywhere. I mean, it's just nobody knows that there's anything there. There's no signs at all. So whatever they're putting up, we go on there a lot. My kid has a sailboat and stuff. We go out with our little dinghy or my son's dinghy. There's no indication that there's a manatees in this area that I can find. As you go a little bit farther, there's a sign, resume safe speed. But what does that mean? They've already been going at 40, that's on the intercoastal, they're already going 40 miles an hour anyway. It does not imply in
Yeah, but Mike, on the larger map that you have there, the first one, you'll see that the intercoastal waterway is in white. And then in pink, you see, are you looking along? That pink area is a manatee protection zone. That goes all the way past your house to the mouth of Stevenson's Creek, and it ends there.
Where is it signed, though? I haven't seen those signs.
I don't know where it's signed, but I know it is. When a few years ago, when they were doing manatee protection in Pinellas County, that is the new zone. We have it out in front, the pink area in front of the Coachman Park, and then all the way between the intercoastal and the mainland is a manatee protection zone.
Has that, and so we're not requesting to change that. That would be great.
We're not requesting to change that.
If it's fine. And also, you're just going for Stevenson's Creek, going up the creek.
Yes, as we turn the corner there, and that's what Mr. Lakey's going to talk about behind you. But I did want to point that out, that is already a protection zone, because the FWC has been in the area to evaluate manatees a few years ago. And Woods Consulting, Terry Skapik was on that panel with the county, and I've talked to her. She is the one that I will consult with to get these new zones established.
And if we could get some signs somehow on this place, people don't know.
Yeah.
I've never seen a sign.
But I can
We
tell
see
you-
them up in other areas when we go out there, but not here. So if we get some signs on there that people on the intercoastal could see as they come off the intercoastal to cut across this area. They cut across here, and they like to cut right across the point, and they go right into Stevenson's Creek. And then I think we're gonna talk separately about Stevenson's Creek, but back to my first photographs. This first photograph is, yes, they are definitely there. And they're living in there, and they live in the basin around, and there's no place for them to go. It's shallow in the creek also. And if somebody goes through there, and I'd just like to point out that if somebody's going at 40 miles an hour, or 35 knots, whatever it may be, is when they hit a manatee, they don't know. I've never hit one because it was just, I hit a sandbar. What will they know? And the manatee is damaged forever. So anyway, those are my comments on here, and I have lots of information I could provide if there's more that anybody else needs.
You said there's a resume safe speed sign somewhere?
It's on the intercoastal though. It's one near channel marker 20 and 19. If there's a
Just
sign,
past the boat ramp, it's,
that's the boat ramp. Just so whatever it refers to, nobody by that time probably, if it does not say manatee
You
zone,
resume after the boat ramp, so you're going north, you see that sign, correct?
you
Yeah.
see it, but it does not say slow speed for manatees.
If you see 13 there, Seminole Street, once you get past the entrance, really right at the entrance to that Clearwater Bay Marina, I believe is right. That's free running all the way to,
those channel
Bridge.
markers
Bridge.
are for the ICW, intercoastal channel, so you couldn't have a manatee protection zone in
Oh,
that channel.
no.
You're talking about signs between the mainland and the channel.
Yes.
Yeah, the zone is there, but I do not know if there's a sign there. I agree with you.
So that's the request, is get some signs out, and then that way it can be enforced. If there's signs, they can actually stop somebody.
It's not on here, but where does this, I see it, it goes up here, but
Yeah,
where
that's-
does it end?
It ends at Stevenson's Creek,
North of Stevenson's Creek?
I think at the mouth. I think right there.
If it could go farther north, I do not know farther north. I do know where I am, but I would expect it the same situation farther north. And if we could maybe, while you're doing it, extend it all the way up to
Knowing
the,
exactly where it ends makes it,
This map
Huge
is just
difference.
Clearwater city limits, so if it probably goes into Dunedin there, but I don't know, because I'm just going off our wake zone map, so I have not seen the manatee overlay map. But I do know that we've added those zones because they were near the boat ramp and near the Coachman Park.
does the fact that there's a zone there give the city the right to put signs up?
No, because we haven't been, we didn't do it. It's not our protection zone. We didn't apply for the permit. So if we would applied for like these wake zones, these manatee zones are state, the state.
State did.
The state evaluated,
Requested the state to put a sign up saying this is the start of a man.
we could, yes. Now that I know there's no signs there, I figured there were. I've never looked. I've been through that area 100 times. I've always been in the channel. I've never left the channel.
and you know, you want to go fast in the channel, that's fine. Water skiing, everything. I'd like to point out in a way that a sign that says manatee zone is not a bad thing even for tourism. Because, you know, there's nothing quite as saying, watch out for the dolphins and watch out for the manatees and watch out for the rays and stuff. Oh, you mean I live in paradise and I have to see manatees? I put pictures like this on my Facebook page. My friends in Hawaii says, oh, I'll go. I want to move from Hawaii to Florida. So I think the manatee zone signs would not hurt tourism all, it would actually increase it. So anyway, those are just some comments, and if you would consider those, and I thank you, Ed, for the information you had. I'll give you back your cool map. I saw that on the internet, but I was trying to hopefully got one that had more across the, up where I live.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you much.
And Mike, I will share more information on that manatee protection zone because it's not a city initiated zone. It was a state zone. You know, a few years ago, Pinellas County kind of was holding up issuing permits for docks and marinas, and there was a lot of development going on because they hadn't finished their manatee study through the county. So that has happened, and it's been at least 5 to 7 years since that zone's been established. And I've talked to one of the people on the committee, so I can get you more information on that zone.
And back with this same photograph here, we have a whole video going way up the stream and all over here, and there's manatees all over the place in April. So they're in danger, and anything that can slow them down, slow the boaters in that narrow channel would really help too. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah.
There's several places south of the Sunshine Skyway that have the same kind of zones. The Intercoastal is fine to go fast, and it says ICW to land is a manatee zone, no wake, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's probably part of the same, it wasn't requested by the cities down there, it was probably the state that did that. So I think all it requires is a request to put
See where the signs
appropriate
are.
signage saying ICW to the shoreline is a manatee zone, and no wake. So that would,
So I'll look into that.
Okay, yes, sir.
Good morning, I'm Darrell Lakey, I live at 1792 Overbrook. Lakey, Darrell, D-A-R-R-E-L-L, Lakey, L-A-K-E-Y. I live on Overbrook on Stevenson Creek, and continuing up with Mike. It's probably not as, familiar with y'all. Y'all sound like you know the other byway and the other wake zone very well, but, if you don't know, Stevenson Creek, it is a hidden gem up there, and we do have lots of manatees up there. I have videos, I have pictures of them, coming right up to the dock. My main issue is the speeding up there. We've lived there almost 2 years, and even in the 2 years, it's increased. Jet skiers.
Daryl, do you want to use this map and show them where you're talking about? Because they all have the same map.
Yeah,
You can put it down there and,
you're probably not as, familiar with this. I live about right, this is the Pinellas Trail, it looks like, right along in here. And a side note, there's a boater that lives up at the end of Stevenson Creek, and it's Service Pro. I have no problems with him. He works on your boat engines out on the water. I think, and he comes up and down there, not a lot, but frequently, and he flies through there. He's going probably 20, 25 miles an hour every time he leaves and comes back. I spoke with the mayor about him. They know about him. The police department knows about him. In fact, there's a video on his Facebook page going under Betty Drive about 20 miles an hour, and his boat is touching both sides of the creek, the mangroves, and he's flying. And he's bragging that to his buddy that he's flying up and down the creek. I have no problem with him and his business, going up and down the creek, but I just need him to slow down. In June, I was almost hit by a jet boat. I was on my kayak coming out of the side creek. I can't remember the name of that side creek there.
Spring Branch maybe?
Spring Branch, yes. And I was at the mouth, and this jet boat came flying around the corner. Luckily, I went left and he went left. He missed me by probably 10 feet. He was actually a family. He ran up into the mangroves and got grounded, and they had to call out EMS and the police, to get him out of there, and the water rescue to get him off of that. Out of there, there were 4 kids in the boat too. But anyway, that was a near miss, and I did not like that at all. And my grandkids are there. We have lots of paddle boarders now. Kayakers, fishermen are up there. They always go slow. Weekends and holidays, not a lot of traffic, but it's getting more and more with the jet skiers. They rent them, because it's like glass up there. It's just smooth as can be, and they just fly. And I've talked to, losing my voice here, I've spoken with residents on both sides of the creek, about a dozen. I was going to get a petition together. I didn't do it, but they're all in agreement that we need to have a minimum wake zone there, starting at the mouth of the intercoastal there where it goes under the Alt 19 bridge, and then it goes under the Pinellas Trail Bridge, and then it goes under Betty Drive Bridge. All the other bridges I know around here in the area have a no-wake zone under the bridges, if I'm not mistaken. The Causeway, Dunedin, and Clearwater, and also there by the entrance into Mandalay Bay, with the Gulf to Bay, it goes under the bridge, or over the water there. There's a little bridge there. It goes into Mandalay Bay, I think.
Mandalay Channel.
Yeah, there's a no wake zone, or there's a minimum wake zone signs there. So there's, 3 bridges on, Stevenson Creek. I've spoken with the mayor, I've spoken with the chief of police, and I know we talked about the other issue there. Your citations are probably none. I don't know about any boat accidents over the years, probably minimal, or none, I should say. But obviously we don't want one to happen. It's very narrow in spots. You're 10 feet across at the end. Your kayakers, you go up there and we really need this. Also, I don't know if you know, and I don't have enough copies, I'm sorry. I know I spoke with, okay.
I can share one with them.
Yeah.
I'm
Sharon,
sorry.
give one to Pat. Yeah.
Actually, I'll take a picture of it.
Oh, great.
And that'll help.
What he's talking about. Which way is this?
That's the new building that's going up
This way or this way?
on the corner of Sunset Point and, the Alt 19. I have no issues with that. I know I've talked to, Mr. Chesney about it, but they have sold 11 of the 12 boat slips, and they are just east of the Alt 19 bridge there. If you're that's familiar with that area. But I've talked to Mr. Chesney, and they haven't even applied for that yet, supposedly.
They do not have the ability to apply for that. So
Right.
what he's showing you is a marketing campaign by a new development with boat slips that do not exist, and they don't have the
Right.
ability to even build them there.
Yet.
But they won't, because the property is separated by Sunset Point
Okay,
Road.
okay.
There's a lot of zoning and development reasons why. They have not even come to the city to ask, could they put boat slips there, and if they did, they would be told no.
I know, but
But I'm just saying, so this is a marketing campaign that,
well, it's interesting.
buyer beware. You're not getting a boat slip.
Well, because I spoke with called the sales office. In fact, it's
Yeah.
just, catty corner here. It's the Decor building, I think. I have no problems with the boat slips, but obviously if you put another 11 boats on the water there, some of them are going to go upstream, downstream, and I have no issues with that as long as they're minimum wake, and they don't.
I think it's something that should be brought to the attention of the Fish and Wildlife that they've already given us a manatee zone and they have more power to do those sort of things to extend it back up the creek, because I'm sure when this one was put in there, Stevenson Creek hadn't been restored. It hadn't turned into a living body of water because, 25 years ago it wasn't. And before they took the golf course out and all the runoff from that. And I've never been up there. And like I said, and it's been 20-some years since I had a 20-foot boat that I could even do that, but it was just mucky up there. So now that it's being restored, we should push the Fish and Wildlife Commission to take a closer look at where the manatees are and maybe divert this whole thing back to them.
Well, they're
Not
off
to-
my
not to
dock.
sh- Not to shoot you down, but I mean,
Well,
maybe delay this.
yeah, for the manatees, yeah, but the speed zone, we need to get that, if we can approve that.
And,
Because that's,
and Mr. Lakey has brought this to council's attention before, and they kind of, asked him to come to this board. So that's always the first stop, when you have an advisory board for something, the council wants that community input first. So the issue with Stevenson's Creek, it's an inland creek, it empties out, so we've never had any zones other than in, beyond the, up the mainland. Saying that, this is a dead-end creek. It dead ends at Palmetto Street. It's from Sunset Point to Palmetto. And if you look at this map, you've got 4 bridges that you have to go under in this creek. Now, the first bridge is the Alt 19, and then the trail. Once you get beyond this Douglas, or I think this is,
yeah, that's Douglas.
Yeah.
I mean, those
Douglas and
bridges
Manatee,
are
right.
so, they're street level bridges. You can't get in there in a boat. Clearwater Marine Patrol can't get in there to patrol. Their boat won't fit. FWC can't get in there. Their boat won't fit. You have to have a very small John boat or a small, boat without any kind of cover. A jet ski, of course, can get in there. And at some points in the creek, I've been back there, you can touch both sides of the creek because it's just it's all mangroves that are eventually gonna take over the creek.
Yeah.
And then this gentleman that is the main driver of this lives at the very end, the one area, and then, then it dead ends at Palmetto. So he has told me, because I've talked to him, the reason he goes so fast is because it's so shallow that he's got to go fast to get through it.
What type of boat is this guy running?
He's got probably about an 18-foot little ski boat or something.
It's a Boston whaler.
Yeah, it's not big, and it's
Just
just,
16, so kind of a flat bottom too.
and it's small enough to get under, you're going under that Betty Lane Bridge, you better duck because you
Yeah.
better not be standing up because it's too shallow.
Well,
So it's not a waterway that is used by anybody other than those that live on it. And most of those people, like you yourself, you have a dock and you go out,
I have a boat. Yeah, I'm in.
you're not going south, you're going out to the north.
Yeah, because it's too shallow.
It's
up
too
there.
shallow in the
But-
south, so at a certain point, once you get past, the wastewater treatment plant is there, nobody goes back behind the wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
It really is this other
Jet
bridge.
skiers.
Yeah, this Douglas Avenue Bridge, the wider part of the creek where there's been a lot of development there and a lot of new docks have been built, new houses have been built in there. Mr. Lakey is one of those newcomers to the area. So this area is changing for users of this creek. Over the years, nobody ever was in there. Now we've got one person at the very end there that is problematic for the creek. So the city's aware of him. The police have been to his house. There are other ordinances already in place to correct his behavior. But if anything we do in this area is really gonna be unenforceable in real time because you cannot get in there with a boat.
Well, most of the waterways are like that. The one we were
Yeah. So,
speaking about before, you can't do enforcement. You can't have a guy there 24/7 like you mentioned.
No.
Yeah, but I have an 18-foot, Tahoe. It's a bow rider. It's got a 2-foot draw, but I can get up and down there. But my point is, we're getting more and more boats up there. It's not just the residents. People come up there to jet ski because it's just flat as glass. There's lots of fishermen up there. They go slow. You kayakers, paddle boarders. Eventually somebody's going to get hit, and it's just scary to me. So I would just encourage. Oh, sorry.
Is it possible to reach out to the state again and, they've got a manatee zone, you've got proof that a manatee beyond the bridge. Could they extend that zone and that just takes care of it? Because
I think the manatee protection is the better angle than vessel exclusion because, there's not many boats that use it, but there are manatees in there all the time.
if you go to the state and say, you've got a manatee zone here, they're there, we also see them inside here in this protected area, can we officially extend it up the creek so far? And that'll take care of the wake problem.
I looked
Would there
at
be signs for
FWC's
that?
website, there very few FWC does not get involved very much with creeks. You can look up at Anclote and some of those in the north where there's actually
Crystal River.
some rivers with marinas and restaurants and places to go. That's where you might see some zones, slow speed, minimum wake. But I could not find any others in our region like Stevenson's Creek.
Usually the signage will say Manatee Zone from here shoreward.
Yeah.
That would be any of the water from here shoreward, which would go all the way up the creek.
Yes, and that's something we will look at. That's absolutely.
Path of least resistance to get something done there.
Yeah, but does it say minimum wake or what is it?
Yeah, that's
Well,
what.
it has to be, yeah, it's,
This is Manatee Zone. I mean, I have Manatee signs on my dock. They just fly by that and like flip me off, as they're driving by and,
no, the Manatee zones are always those minimum wake
Yeah,
requirements.
they'll say Manatee Zone minimum wake.
Okay,
Low speed,
yeah,
Just trying to find the.
yeah, no, no,
It's getting to go through all the gyrations we've heard they have to do this. It seems like the path of least resistance, go back to state and say, can you put better
signs
signage up here? And it's gonna be from here shoreward, and they don't have to go up the creek. It says it right there, from here shoreward, and shoreward would be any water that goes to the shore, which would be anything on the creek. And it'll be a matter, if it's a real problem, then they would go to the sheriff's unit maybe and say, you need to patrol us a little bit, because we've got boats that are not adhering to the signage.
well, they can't get in there to patrol it, that's the problem.
yeah, it's the alt
Bridge is
19
too
bridge is
shallow.
low.
The bridge is too low. So
Yeah,
neither-
high tide, it's,
Yeah, those 22-foot centuries they've got T-tots on them.
oh, yeah, I know.
Bridge.
Maybe the sheriff's unit needs to show up by car and take a
Jet
look.
ski.
Well, they've done that too. The police has, sat on the bridge before.
Yeah,
I just,
Talk
I'm
to Chief
suggesting
Slaughter.
this is a path to take first before you go through all the headaches that are involved and the possible being turned down to get a no-wake zone.
I'm not opposed to any, either way to do it.
I would say try.
As long as we can get a couple of signs in there that say,
Somebody wants to make a motion
agree.
to have the harbor master reach out to the state and ask them for better signage or whatever they need to do. I can't make the motion, but take that step first, and that'll be a lot easier than going through an ordinance, I would think.
This
What's
would,
the state's
this
gonna
would be
take?
something that I would do in concert with the earlier case we heard.
Sure.
You could act on both of these, they're similar, same effort, if you will, as far as,
In the earlier one,
Is this,
the no-wake zone and or the
yes.
earlier
The
one.
the previous discussion
Earlier one.
yeah,
of
yeah.
Stevenson
we
Creek.
can follow up on this FDC's response in like 3 months, next meeting, or?
Yeah,
All right.
I would put forward a motion that we communicate with the state powers that be to see that they extend that Manatee Zone anywhere up the creek. Is that a second?
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great.
Not
Okay.
everything you wanted, but
Well, no, I just
it
want to sign
really
it.
is, it's the same thing by virtue of the
Yeah, it may
manatee
work.
zone, that's double protection.
Yeah.
A slow speed minimum wake, you could have those in areas that manatees don't exist.
Yeah.
When you have the manatee protection zone, the fines are more severe if you were to injure one or be, speeding through there. So it's a more protective zone to have
I
that.
know with the state, it's gonna take a year or two probably, and that's fine, as long as somebody's working on it, eventually get.
Well, the city can't speed that up. I mean, alls we can do.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Alls we can do is initiate it, because we don't permit those.
Yeah.
We don't have the ability to permit those.
As long as we can get a sign that says, hey, slow down, that's all. That's all I'm asking. Thank you, guys. I know you guys are volunteers.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Anyway,
thank you.
thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
Darryl.
you, Mr.
You do.
Bell.
Okay, so I think we've concluded some new business items. We have old business items, and I guess those are some updates from you, Ed.
Patty, I had these for you. These are. Okay, where are we on our agenda?
Starting with update on Imagine Clearwater construction impacts.
Yeah, that was just a brief, I just put that on there because, we had a lot of, with the Imagine Clearwater parking, you may have heard people were upset about losing the parking, and it's not that they lost parking, they lost close parking, so they had to walk uphill to get to the lot. So That has resolved itself. The city has provided a shuttle service, so we now are taking people up and down the hill from those parking lots, and it has, I haven't heard a complaint in a long time. We might have had one or two complaints, and then those now have dissipated, so all good news there.
The long range on that, there's not gonna be any parking anymore down there at all, period?
There will be parking there. It'll be kind of where the Pierce Street, where the old city hall is, in that area, there's gonna be some parking. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but there will be, under the bridge will be parking. It's just offline now, but that parking is coming back. Yeah.
Okay,
And the reason that's offline is they're redoing the lift station that's under the Memorial Causeway Bridge, and that goes right through that parking lot under the bridge. So once that is done, all that new piping goes in, they will reopen that lot as soon as they can. So that was something that they were doing first, because the lift station that is there now cannot handle the demands that the new park will put on it. So they have to put more, new lift station and a bigger line to it.
They're bringing in the dirt.
The dirt is there, yes.
I walked over, gate two's here, actually in the parking lot, and the trucks were coming in, one after the other, of tri-axle dump trucks coming in with dirt. I know, you may know the actual number, but there was supposed to be a huge amount of,
Hundreds of truckloads. There's a link online. If you go to myclearwater.com for Magic Clearwater, you can actually see a live camera of construction activity, 24 hours a day. Even there's nothing going on, you can still see nothing going on. But you'll know what's going on because you see the cars going over the bridge. But if you've got nothing to do at home one day, you can watch them move dirt around.
side note, I was in Chicago over the weekend, and they have a amphitheater in their Millennial Park, and it's about 3,500 seats, it looks like. I think ours is gonna be about 4,000. I think it's gonna be pretty neat. And 35 or 4,000 undercover with the grass behind it. It's a very similar setup they have up there, and it's gonna be pretty neat.
Nice. So,
Okay,
so
and
that,
then-
that's,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry, update on the beach.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give an update on the
Marina?
Beach Marina project. So everybody knows that we've awarded the contract. Now, at our next meeting in March, I'm gonna have the consultants here to give a presentation on next steps, which is what everybody's interested in. This first phase, what we're doing now, and Phil may have seen people out at the beach, we're doing a data collection phase right now. That's a utility source. So they were out yesterday in kayaks looking at seawall panels at low tide and looking at electric upland stuff and our lift station. So the first phase of this project is utilities coming to the seawall. What we're gonna do next, the way that this project is laid out is we're developing a construction master plan. And the reason for that is that we're gonna commit at 30% what this construction phasing and how it's gonna be built. And that, what that does, it keeps us from going backwards. So, and that's what you're gonna see in March is our 30%. We're gonna have a general footprint of the marina. We are gonna be asking, very soon for surveys of all the existing tenants like yourself. And they're gonna be asked certain questions about needs and response. And then we're gonna, based on getting those surveys back from the tenants, we're gonna have breakout sessions with users, commercial users, large tour boats, fishing boats, different types of charters, get them to try to manage some of their needs and demands and try to figure out how we're going to construct the marina. We have to take the marina, build it in sections, we have to cut power, we have to have temporary power. So these are the things we're looking at now. How are we gonna cut the power to the marina, but only do one section and still leave half of the marina on, with temporary service, temporary water. So those are the things we're looking at now. And once we figure out what that master plan for construction is, we're gonna bring it to the board, we're gonna bring it to the major users, which are the commercial businesses and tenants out there, and have discussions on that. Once everybody is in agreement, nobody will be completely happy, I guarantee you that. That's impossible. But once everybody is in general agreement with this master plan, including city management and council, we're going to commit to it because we're going to move forward. You know, you'll see other projects, we've had them here recently where we've redesigned projects when we're ready to go to construction. We're not gonna be doing that with the marina, I hope.
You said breakout sessions with the commercial tenants?
Yes.
Only the commercial or the private tenants as well or not?
Well, the private tenants, they're not gonna be affected that much. I mean, they'll all maintain a slip, but it's the users that are there every day that have scheduled tours, ticket vending, all of these things that have special considerations. If you're a commercial tenant out there, your boat will still be there. You're gonna have a much improved experience. You're gonna probably be on a floating dock, a wider platform. So, you know, there's not much input needed there as far as that's concerned.
No, but the private guys will still need utilities for, well, I mean.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
you'll have all your utilities.
They need to be kept
Yes.
out to it, yeah, okay.
That's what we're talking about. We have to figure out how to do that project in, you know, 3, 4, 5 phases, taking utilities offline only in the phase affected,
Yeah.
which is what we're looking at now, running temporary service lines along the seawall in areas to where we can keep people in business and get these people into their boats, the regular users that are not there every day, they want to come for the weekend and so forth.
Concerned about independent use of generators if they are temporarily at a dock that doesn't have power, or pretty much anybody there would have access to power, they're not gonna be generating their own, or?
I don't know that, as far as use of generators, I don't know if that's allowed, if we can allow use of generators on the dock, so that's something in March that we'll be talking about. It's kind of premature right now to get with that, so I don't know the answer to that.
20 gas generators going on one section of the dock is a scary
Yeah,
thought.
I don't think we would want that either.
Which group was awarded the contract?
Pardon me?
Which group was awarded the contract for this
It
project?
was Moffitt and Nichols.
Okay.
Moffitt and Nichols of Tampa. And their design, you know, it's a group of people. Moffitt and Nichols, the prime. We have Jensen Wanamaker Architects, which is the same architectural firm that did the St. Pete Pier. We've got Kimley Horn doing site civil work for us. So we've got a very experienced team. And it is a team, and this is the design team. And what we do at 30%, once this design team, and these people have done marinas before, we're gonna build this with a construction manager style project. So at 30, 40%, the basic footprint is known. We have to bring a construction manager on here that is going to figure out and cost it for us. Okay, these are the docks we want. We're doing a combination of fixed, floating. These are the dock manufacturers. These are the utilities that we need. This is everything we need. Now it's their responsibility to work within our budget. We have a budget. So the last thing you do is design something you can't build. So right now we have $18 million to build something that we don't have a cost estimate on yet. So that's the beauty of construction manager.
I've got the work order that was at the council meeting, and that hasn't changed, has it?
No.
That was approved and adopted. Within that, in the design process, and I know that you were gonna have user groups and so forth at the 30% mark or whatever, but it's a little confusing to me whether you're gonna get some input before you do the design, or you're gonna say, here's the design, now how can we work you into it?
You'll be input before the design.
One of the items says that, you know, lead, it said lead one, sorry. Got this. In the master planning, it says, one of the bullet points is lead one design meeting with city representatives and key design team members, meaning their design team, I guess, to present, review, and expand on preliminary marina program. Meetings expected to last 4 hours, and the results of the design meeting will generate a marine concept layouts for city review and comment. City representatives, I assume, would be our harbor master and a couple others.
Yeah, public.
I'm requesting that this board appoint me as a representative to attend those meetings on behalf of of our organization here. I'll spend the time and go to those meetings with them, and if you appoint me as representative of your board.
You know, Phil, they're public meetings, so I don't think that's necessary. I'm not sure this board can do that. I can give you notice of all those meetings and invite you myself. But
Just like to be a little, I have a lot of experience. I've been here 40 years, and I don't want to see the thing saying, this is what we decided. What do you think? And I'm going to say, well, I think you should do that. Well, it's already decided.
no, I
Okay,
promise you.
I
it will
really
not-
would like to have some input.
It will
I'm the
not.
largest tenant there, and it's going to greatly affect how I operate my businesses, and I have a lot to draw from as far as experience from an operator standpoint. And I'd really just like to be more involved than I have been.
Well, nobody's been involved yet, so that's what I'm saying, so don't
Well,
feel
you were
like-
gonna send me some things, and I never received anything, so I don't wanna go there. I just really would like to have it officially be a city representative. I sit on this board now. I know I'm not a voting member, but I think I've contributed already in a few meetings. I think I've helped in many ways, and I'd just like to participate in this as well, because it does affect me personally. But I'm looking at it from as I told you before, I'll look at it from the 10,000-foot level and the greater good for everybody, you know. And I think I've come up with one idea that's really good.
Okay, well, we need those ideas, and that's why I was telling you that you're gonna soon see a survey. You know, we have not met with the user group, so, you know, others will wanna do the same thing. Then everybody will be at my meetings, you know what I'm saying? So if,
That's what I was saying, if I could be, as official capacity, if I was appointed by this committee or this board to do that, then there'd be a reason for me to be there without having everybody at your needs.
and if they can do that,
Can
I'm
we
fine
recommend
with
that again, just as a recommendation? Ed?
Pardon?
Can we just do that as a recommendation? We recommend that Phil be
Yeah, you can.
included in your meetings? Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah, okay.
you can recommend anything you want. That's-
Anything at all.
I just have some more clarifying questions. I do agree that we need to have someone with the longstanding experience a part of these conversations. But one question that I have was, what were the determining factors for selecting Moffett for this project? Was it because they've had experience before? Because they're Tampa? You know, was there a rubric used to decide between the groups for making this decision?
There was a committee, yeah, there were 4 or 5 shortlisted firms. 3 of them were within the Tampa Bay region, 2 were not. So we evaluated the teams based on prior history, past projects, location, and the team scored everybody. I personally liked another team that was in the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area. I thought they had better project experience, better project that they showed us, but none of them were local. Everybody was in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, or another office in the Northeast. So this team that we selected, everybody is in the Tampa Bay region. So they're on site now visiting. So you're going to pick somebody from Fort Lauderdale, half the day is traveling here, and then they're in a hotel. So the prices, you know, would go up like that. So that's how we looked at them, and we looked at past performance with the city. Moffitt Nichols has done work for the city before, so they were known to us. They did our boating infrastructure plan about 5 years ago, so they had a lot of knowledge already. They knew the marina, they knew the waterways, so that was a good pick there. Jensen Wanamaker did the pier project, so they're very familiar with permitting in the area. This is a very sophisticated permit process. Woods Consulting was on their team. We liked that aspect because they do all of the waterway permitting in Pinellas County. Some of the other firms, the permitting was left to people in other regions of the country or had never permitted anything in Pinellas County. So that is a problem I experienced when we did the downtown marina. I was dealing with consultants from Jacksonville and St. Augustine that weren't familiar with Pinellas County, the ordinances and all of the things that they had to do for permitting. I was heavily involved with that. I felt I was doing all the permitting because I was constantly having to, you know, I don't want to say babysit, but, you know, get involved in something. So I'm very comfortable with this permitting team, which is going to take about a year to get this permitted. So that's the first thing in some of these things is to get the initial permit in. We have to get some exemptions for minor dredging that we might need. We're going to get some exemptions for early demo work, you know, when we start doing seawall repair. So those are some of the things we're talking about now. So right now, and I would love to have Phil involved, because he's level-headed and he's not selfish. So he's not getting involved for himself. He's getting involved for the marina. And I don't have a problem with that. I just was saying, right now, what we're looking at are utilities. That's the first thing we're gonna do. We're not gonna touch a dock or anything until we get the utility work design, because all of that stuff has got to come through the seawall at certain points. That's what we're figuring out now. There's been no design work on what the marina is gonna look like. I can tell you that the Starlight's probably not going anywhere.
I realize that.
So, but there's,
Be involved.
yeah.
And represent this group and try to help.
And one of the,
Volunteer my time, because
yeah, is our fuel dock. So that's gonna be a controlling figure, you know, so what are we gonna do? Are we going to rebuild it? You know, it's kind of grandfathered in now. What can we permit there? Is that gonna be fixed, floating? Are we gonna replace all of the lines that are, the fuel lines underneath there? So we're looking at that now. So that's a controlling aspect of the project. The other stuff is very easy. You can, once you survey that marina in, I could do a slip layout, and at the click of a button, I could change it to another layout. So that's gonna be, and that's the kind of stuff that the users are gonna look at. They're gonna see the designs, they're gonna see, you know, we're looking at possibly building a boardwalk behind the seawall to give more space to the businesses in the sidewalk. So you might go to a boardwalk, run utilities under there, and then go down to the dock. So Coronado is a big problem. It's so narrow there. If we could kick that out, say 10 feet for, you know, vending and all of those, for boarding. So those are the things that we're gonna get input from the users on. What would that look like?
Right, well, that was the idea I gave you.
Oh, was that one of your ideas?
Yeah.
I know, I thought it was a good one.
The last meeting we had, I brought it up, and you said
Came
there
up
was
in
all
here.
kinds of complications with doing that, and then we had a private discussion because we didn't have the
Yeah.
last meeting, and he said, oh, that turned out to be, you can put all the utilities there and access, and so, you know.
I must have slept on it. No,
Idea too.
that was my idea. He's trying to steal my idea.
Ed, did you say several minutes ago that there's gonna be a mixture of floating and fixed docks?
There will be.
Ah,
There'll have to be some, you know.
okay.
Right now, it's all fixed. So we'll
Yep.
have some, I don't know what that percentage will be, but that's with building, you know, if we build some, you know, cantilever type dock over the wall, it makes it easier for us for utilities. And, you know, I do remember Phil talking about that, but I've talked about it with the engineers already, you know, at that suggestion. So, and that's something they're gonna look at. And it makes sense. Otherwise, we're gonna be putting the utilities underneath the sidewalk where they are now. In a duck bank, it might be easier to do it another way. So that's why the utilities, it's always the underground work that's the most important. You know, you'll see the marina, but the other stuff that's gonna happen early on, you will never see. So, and those are the things that are most problematic for us. You know, we've gotta do with the utilities out there, electric, all that electric is that's all gotta be elevated, you know, all those meters and
Oh, yeah.
stuff now. So we've gotta look at that, how that's gonna look, and how we're gonna deal with those things.
The garage,
Pardon?
the parking
Put
garage.
a parking garage in there, yeah.
Anyway, to help him, help me participate, if someone would make a recommendation that I serve at the pleasure of this board to work with city on this project, it would help him from having everybody coming to his knees saying, well, what about me? What about me? What about me? And I think I could lend provide a positive input if someone would recommend that.
This is not in any sense giving up our ability to attend or ask questions, right?
Give who?
The rest of us. It's not limiting our ability to attend these meetings.
Well, you'd have to attend them together. It'd have to be publicly noticed, so it's kind of difficult for the board.
I can go as a citizen.
One member could be there. I don't have a schedule yet for the meeting, so I mean, that's something.
Okay.
Yeah, when we do them, you know, I'm not trying to keep anybody from any of these meetings, absolutely not.
So we can come.
Yeah.
Right, if more than one of you is gonna be there, though, it's gonna have to be noticed.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why
Really?
Phil was saying, if he goes, he is, ex officio, he's not bound by the same rules, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he's not an active voting board member. I don't know the rules.
So,
We can verify that with the clerk's office,
Oh, the attorney's office.
attorney's office.
Yeah, please. I'd love to
Okay.
just hand that to you, but I don't want to lock myself out of,
Right.
something I've been really interested in. And I don't want to volunteer
Well,
to be that representative as opposed to you, but,
Anyway,
This is a year-long project.
yeah.
Right now, they are doing data collection.
Right.
So there's really no involvement there. They're trying to figure out what we have utility-wise.
So we'll be talking about this in 3 months
Yeah,
anyway.
they're gonna give us a presentation in 3 months.
how about,
But before,
recommendation until we determine what the,
yeah, why not suggest that
yeah,
that
suggest it, and we'll
Phil,
see if
Phil
we can,
be
if we can make it
included
happen.
in these meetings for
Absolutely.
now, and we'll figure out when we hear back, I guess, from Patricia as to what it is
I
about.
don't need the attorney's office. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't have the information.
well then, I guess we have to look to Ed to get a ruling from the attorney's office about the rest of us participating or not.
Yeah.
Okay,
I guess what I'm getting at is that you're not gonna hear back or get a decision for this till the next meeting.
No, it won't be till the next meeting.
So
Right.
is it possible for you to recommend that I represent this board until then?
Sure, I'll put that out.
okay, there you go. All right, it's been seconded, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
Thank you.
all right, there we go.
Trying to make it easier on him when I go knock on his door.
Yeah,
And I will appreciate that. You know, one of the biggest problems with this development is it's an active marina, so the tourists, you know, they'll come and go, but we have 50 commercial businesses that are every day. And then we have people that are using it every day, so it's gonna be a struggle at times for everybody, you know? And that's what we have to determine what's best to work. So Phil can get involved, you know, he takes charter boats out, he has a lot of loading and unloading, and we have to determine where that's gonna be when these docks are out of service, you know, and then schedules. You know, some of these boats we're gonna have maybe central loading areas that everybody's gonna wanna load at the same time, so people are gonna have to adjust their schedules, or we're gonna have to have multiple loading areas. Different boats are bigger and smaller, so we have to figure out where they're gonna be. So those are the things that we're gonna need you and the user groups to help us with. The design of the docks, that's done by professionals. You know, we're not dock designers. You know, we have to have the engineers design that. We can comment on the layouts and what everybody needs as far as, you know, size of the dock and what their, you know, footprints are. We've sent the designers everybody's existing boat detail, so they know how big the starlight is, what the draft is and the width. We did that for everybody, so we've given them that already as just a baseline. And they're out there looking at, you know, how people are loading, who has catwalks. Nobody has the same thing. There's not two slips out there that are similar. So that's, you know, kind of unique in that sense.
okay. Is there anything further from you, Ed?
No, you guys heard enough from me, I'm sure.
You don't have a quorum right now.
Patty, what?
You don't have a quorum.
We need to wait for Miranda.
Oh,
We need to take a recess.
Oh, boy.
okay. I didn't know what she was doing. Restroom?
Holding it for 2 hours.
She's not leaving. She hasn't left.
Like many of
Her
us.
stuff's here.
All right,
So we're in recess.
so we're in a recess.
Y'all missed my play. I didn't see any of you there. It was last weekend in Tarpon. I reminded you about it 3 months ago. It was a big success, though.
Okay, thank you, Jim. We'll be in touch.
Thanks, Jim. Good
Bye-bye.
presentation.
Yep, bye-bye.
Thank you too, Daryl. We will be in touch. I will get something.
So what's the process now? It goes to the,
It'll go to council. There'll be a recommendation to council.
can I steal this?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it'll go to them to, I know we can't probably talk about it, but, well, we talk.
They have to direct staff. I can't direct staff to create the ordinance. So once that decision has been made.
It is.
they will go to the state.
Unfortunately, we're spending a lot of time waiting for Miranda. There she comes, great.
All right, thank you so much, guys.
We did nine
Thank
thirty
you.
once.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was when the girls with the boats, with the boat rescue.
Okay, so we're back in session, I presume. And the last question would be whether or not there are any comments from any of the members of the board.
I did have something I wanted to talk about. Sorry. I just had to run to the car. So we had the boat races here, and I was really concerned about two things. The environmental impact. Sorry, let me catch my breath. So the races happened during, we had red tide during that time, and we talked about the manatee safety and things like that. And I wanted to know, and I guess it kind of folds into why we don't have any representatives from Ocean Allies or even Amplify Clearwater on the board to kind of help us with those conversations, to talk about the environmental impact that those races have here, as well as what we're doing about the marine life. Sorry, I just had to run to the car. Because we do have two members that haven't shown up since we've, since I've been on the board, since I've been appointed, so they could be replaced or added to the board, Ocean Allies and Amplify Clearwater.
Well, we do have some absentee members, and we're going to address that after this meeting. I just talked to Patty about that. And the board members are appointed by council. So if there are applications by these groups that want to be on this board, I'd love to have them, absolutely. Because we don't pick the members, you know, they you know, you came through, you know, somebody supported you, and we're glad to have you. And I inherited a couple of these guys up here, but they come to us through council.
Okay.
They come and go through council. So we've had a couple members that, this member here, I've never seen her. She's been on the board for over like 2 years.
The Dr. Bill, was he on the city council before
Who's Dr. Bill?
I think that was Kathleen, actually, Beckman replaced him on the city council in the last election. He was an incumbent, they called him Dr. Bill or Dr. I'm sorry?
Okunda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
I do know she was his campaign manager, and that, so she signed up for this board about the same time as she took over his campaign. And whether that was to push out some connection to the city or something, except for the one meeting I missed in June, which apparently she wasn't here then Miss Joseph, I think her name is?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's never attended a meeting that I know.
I just feel like for certain conversations, especially where we have citizens concerned about the wildlife, how we were talking about enforcement, how we have a lack of support there, if we had a representative from those different organizations, it would probably make the conversation a little bit more impactful. We'd have a lot more resources to approach the state about what we're looking to do, because we have a liaison here who could communicate with us about what's possible and how to expedite some of these things. So I don't want to wait a year. I don't know how it lasts. I hear that the process is a year long to get the permits and the ordinances so we can get the signs out. But, you know, if that tiki boat gets tipped over and there's 8 people on there, and it's like, oh, well, we're waiting for the permit to come through, I don't think that's going to be appreciated by the community. So if we were just to have some more representatives here to talk us through, or just to be a support, I think that would be a good opportunity for us.
Of course, they're always willing to, or welcome to attend the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, you can go online to the Clearwater, My Clearwater, and find, the same way I did. I, of course, was originally on the abatement board, which I think has since finally gotten going. I languished on that for about a year, that we couldn't get a quorum of even members. And then after repeatedly bugging the past city manager and mayor, that I got them to move me over here. So, yeah, you got to go, as Ed says, you got to go through the channels. We can't put people on the board.
And Miranda, the tiki boat people, They're right out in front of my office. I know every single one of them. I talk to them every day. Nobody has ever told me they're in fear for their lives because of a wake.
You're,
Mike, have you heard that? I talk to those guys every single day, so when I heard that, I thought, yeah, it was good fodder.
you're their best customer, right?
No, but nobody's shy to complain about something.
No.
Absolutely not. I hear it all. So, I don't know how those things, they're not very, but they're like a pontoon. Water, they're never gonna tip over. Water will just come through them, you know, like that. But, they haven't complained about that. And I see them over there. I don't see them in that channel. I see them over by the little islands. They like to go through the small cut, and then they go to the east, and so the people can get off and walk those islands there.
Yeah,
Do the shells,
Yeah, that I-25. So I've never seen him. I don't know if that picture was really in the area that he was talking about for no wake.
Well, you get a strong westerly wind, and that's places where you might be more likely to tuck into than those open islands, because even just inside the channel, those islands can, I had a heck of a time there with my 30-footer because it pulled one of my anchors and turned me sideways and was blowing me right up against it, and I really had a heck of a time getting my boat off of there safely, so.
Those things go so slow, and believe it or not, they are all Coast Guard certified.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well,
They
they have
are,
to be,
yeah,
sure.
believe it or
They
not.
have to be.
It looked like a blast, man.
Yeah.
Are they taking
Well, so
applications?
you can only go so far out, Clearwater Pass, but those things, and Coast Guard certified, but those things can go out beyond that, out into the Gulf, believe it or not, right to its edge.
That's nuts.
You can kill 6, just not 150.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Anyway, but yes. But we need to address absenteeism. And, you know, we send out these notices multiple times. You've probably seen this one at least twice, maybe 3 times, because I always ask make sure, you know, short of calling everybody, you know, we've never done that, because we give the schedules, and, you know, as a commitment for the volunteers, you know, it's, everybody knows when the meetings are.
Did you release the schedules? Do they have the schedules?
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
I have 2022 filled
yeah,
in.
we email them out, you know.
Okay, just making sure.
And we have, you know, Jennifer in our office, that's her task, is to send the emails out, make sure they got the agenda. You know, short of calling everybody, you know, that's, you know, a lot of work. These meetings are a lot of work for me, for Mike, and for my staff, and for Patty. And when we have a no quorum, no show,
Like last time.
like
Right.
last time, you know,
Right.
then I've
It's not
got,
right.
things are delayed. Mr. Lakey, you know, has been very interested in coming to this board. Now, that's 6 months of his time.
I suggest that you change your notification to say, instead of saying if you're not, let us know if you're not planning on attending,
Doesn't know if you are attending.
please confirm that you are going to, for quorum purposes, please attend.
Right.
Please let us know you are attending.
We're
If you don't hear from
I
the
would
day before,
agree.
then you make a
I'd
phone
be
call
happy
and
to
say,
confirm, yeah.
haven't heard from you. Are you coming or not?
I'm gonna change
You can
that.
call the rest of us and say, no quorum tomorrow, because we don't know.
Yeah, everybody comes
And,
in.
and where also that would help is, like in June, I booked a flight. I booked it at 11:30, knowing that unless a meeting ran like this, normally we run an hour. Even if we run a little long, I still have an hour to get to the airport, an hour before my flight. And with the COVID things, they changed my flight 30 minutes earlier. And I went and I exchanged emails with Jennifer going back, and if you don't think you have a quorum, I'll come. But if enough, but because people don't reply, yes, I'm coming, only no, I'm not, and a lot of them no, I'm not, and they don't send that email saying no, I'm not. We were kind of up in the air, and I felt bad, and I was glad to see you guys had a quorum and could have the meeting, but it was on my mind all the way to Pittsburgh, and then I quit thinking about you. So yeah, some kind of verification that people are going to be here.
Yeah, I serve with the trolley board, it's always, it just puts on there, for purposes of a quorum, please, you know, confirm your attendance.
Okay, yeah, that's
Okay.
a good suggestion. So anything
Thanks,
else?
Miranda. Anything else?
I'm good.
No, I just would, you know, like to just continue being a part of this. I know I'm a learner, and so I'm asking a lot of elementary questions, but it's just so that I can get some context. And I just would like to see people show up and be here and be responsible with their time and what we can do. to contribute to this.
Congratulations on starting school for your captain's license.
Yes, thank you. I'll be going up this weekend to finish up, and I'll get to take my test. And I'm just really excited about helping more people get on the water, especially women, because we're underrepresented.
Okay.
Okay, we all set? I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.
We set a record.
That's right. We'll get some good stuff done today.